This session is Managing a Large Keelboat Event with Kevin Wilson, IRO. The session was recorded at the Sail Melbourne 2023 Race Official Seminar.
Okay, just for large keelboat fleets, just a couple of pictures we have here, and that is we have a lot of big mass starts, and the reason we have big mass starts is really as a spectacle for the TV, the people that may be watching it, for no other reason for that. And we looked at the Sydney Harbour, we look at, we've got over at Geelong, the way down to Geelong, Early Beach, with the first race of the Early Beach race week, out to the cones. It's all a mass start. All the boats start at the same time, which does lead to a little bit of bit of planning on behalf of the race committee. And we look at things we need to look at as split lines and load marks and starting penalties, and they all come to assist us in running a mass start. Not sure what happened there. Looks like anyway, just another picture of what we have mass starts. It's just a couple there for. So it is the spectacle on the water and once again promotion of the event. Why do we have split start lines? Well, we've got a person here, a race officer in our midst here, that was on line 2 of the Sydney to Hobart yacht race. This year they had 4 start lines, and they split that up so as you've got the high performance boats, and it is graded down to the end of it, to the less performing boats. And you might have the last line is the 2-handers. So you have a look at your fleet and you work out how it should be graded. And with the Geelong one this year, you've got the racing fleet, and then you've got the rest on the second start line. How long should the start line be? Well, that depends on basically how long or how many competitors you've got and the size of the fleet you've got. But you are looking at a start line, probably in the vicinity of at least 400 metres, about 0.22 of a nautical mile, and you probably need to make sure that the lines are probably around about 400 metres apart, so as you can get decent separation between the fleets. And that just gives you a little bit of safety margin. We're looking at the length, as I said, the length of the line, but it's important when you're having a look at, if we go have a look at the fleets that we've got, if we're starting a race and we've run the line square to the breeze, then it may not be sending you in the direction of where you next mark may be. One thing we've got at Early Beach, going out to the cones, a normal breeze would be probably around about 160, 180 degrees, you're hoping, and the start or the cones, their race out to the cones is almost true north. It's about 010 course angle out to the cones. So what you do is you set your start line up, but you don't want all the boats at the committee boat end, because if you set it going straight square to the course direction, everyone will want to drag up to the top end, and you'll end up like we saw on the Simon's little slide, everyone crashing and burning at the committee vessel. So it is a good idea, very prudent, to put a bias on the line to encourage the fleet to move down the line. So that, and that bias, it could be up to perhaps 20 degrees bias down the end. So as you need to sit and have a look and do your own sums to try and make sure that you've got the opportunity to spread the fleet down the line. So as you can get, because they're all starting with their spinnakers up, for instance, and that's what you're looking at. You don't want, as I said, everyone at the top. So you bias the line and you give encouragement for people to move down the line, and therefore you can make most of the full 400 plus meters that you may have of your start line. The other thing that we need to consider, and that is, this is a bit of the Whitsunday Islands. So up there, you're starting in Pioneer Bay. As I said, the course angle, the breeze expected would be around about 160 degrees, maybe 140, but generally that would be the southeasterly trade breeze that you're looking at starting a race in. Your first mark, or your first racing around the islands, could be around Hannah Point, or could be over at Pioneer Rocks, and that is an angle of almost true east, 090. So what we do there is we put a laid mark. We lay a mark at about 0.6 to 0.8 nautical miles directly upwind of the start line. And then in the sailing instructions, we say that the first mark would be a laid mark, and it may be rounded to port or starboard, depending on the flag that we're flying. On the race committee boat, if we want them to round it to port, then we put up the red flag. Starboard, we put up the green flag. So that way we can then set up a square line to the breeze. They can all have a fair start. They can then have their 0.6 to 0.8 nautical miles beat to windward, and then they'll round that mark, peel off, put their spinnakers up or reach, and then they've got the race to go around the islands. And likewise, if we're going north, then we've got a similar situation. We'll put a lay mark in, and we'll do exactly the same, so as the fleet can go north. The same thing happens over Lincoln. If we're racing at Port Lincoln on Boston Bay, we've got various marks there of the course that when we're doing passage racing. So it's very simple. Instead of trying to line the start line up with all of the marks in Pioneer Bay as to what may be the first mark, it is very simple. We put a laid mark up, they race up to the laid mark, and then they can then tack or peel off whatever they need to do to sail the course as per their sailing instructions. So it makes it very simple and very safe as far as racing goes. The other thing that you've got with these start lines with big numbers of starters, and that is starting penalties. And if we've got a lot of boats in a confined area, it can be very, very dangerous for the competitors to return to the pre-start side of the line, especially when we've got 2 lines or 3 lines to turn around and then come back, and then they then could be tacking into the fleet that is coming towards them, and that could be very dangerous and presents a lot of issues that you've got on the racetrack. So World Sailing have got an alteration to the alternative starting penalties, and they've listed under regulation 28.1.5. They've agreed that there is a change for our starting. So they can't change the definition of the start. That's one thing that cannot be changed in the racing rules. But what they have done is we can have penalties that apply, so that particular boat will accept a penalty even though they have started incorrectly, they accept a penalty and then can continue racing. But that has to be stated in the notice of race that this will apply. So that's up there, you're just reading. That's the start. So how to add this test rule to the notice of race? And it's approved by, as I said, by World Sailing. And this is on the World Sailing website. It can be downloaded, and you've got a copy of that for anyone that wants to pursue mass starts and alternative penalties. I believe years ago, the Sydney Hobart, there used to be pen them up somewhere up in Shark Bay there somewhere, or before they went out of the heads. They don't do it any longer. It's they've got to return. So that's the way it goes. But there are, I guess, around the world there are many mass starts where there is not sufficient room for the boats to return safely. So they've introduced this here penalty. So
Sydney Harbour, the room make you do your turns before Bondi Beach.
Yes, you've got to do your turns. Yeah, that's so it's they've got it so it's not immediate after the you've got to do your turns. But if you start early, then you've still got to come back and start correctly, and that's so the starting penalties. So it's a simple language or a sample language here. Boat starts when crossing the start line entirely on the pre-start side of the starting line and having complied with the rules. And then we got the option of what do we do. Option 1, OCS scoring penalty. She should receive a penalty calculated in accordance with RRS 44.3C. Or we could state option 2, a time penalty, and replace with a time penalty whatever we wish the time penalty may be. Option 4, OCS, we stop, go penalty certain times, and the line description and direction is required. So you may have to cross a line, and then she shall wait before crossing. So we're stopping it, proceeding to race any further until that particular time is up. So these are the options we've got available to us for mass starts in basically keelboat, big fleet racing to make sailing still a big spectacle, but to make it safe. That's about it. Any questions? I'm being wound up there. Yes, Peter.
Even with those revisions you described.
Well,
I don't expect I get that, but there's got to be a safety and a fairness issue.
Well, in the Adelaide to Lincoln race, we'll have 50 boats on the start line, but their first mark is Marion Reef, angle of about 235 degrees thereabouts. Breeze is generally about 220, therefore a short bias on the line, and they have acres of water allotted to sailing, so that is not an issue. But if we're in a confined area, then you would then need to look at the event, look at the size of the boats, look at the issues that you might have, and then make that decision which way you're going to do. Like in Sydney Harbour, we've got different situations than we would on Port Phillip than we would have in Adelaide. If we're starting races in Waterloo Bay, big mass starts, then you've got sandbars and everything all over the joint. Therefore, you'll probably have to consider what you're doing or go out beyond the island. So,
Thank you for watching this recording. We look forward to seeing you at Sail Melbourne 2024.